There is a thought your soulmate keeps pushing away, yet somehow it always finds its way back. No matter how busy they become, no matter what distractions appear throughout their day, one question continues, quietly following them. And the strange thing is, they never planned to think about it this much. Recently, during an ordinary moment, your presence crossed their mind unexpectedly. It wasn't triggered by anything dramatic. It simply appeared, and once it did, they couldn't stop wondering about you. Your heart needs this right now, because sometimes the questions we cannot stop asking reveal feelings we have not fully acknowledged. And listen to this. Your soulmate has been wondering what occupies your thoughts lately. They find themselves imagining your daily life, your emotions, and the path you are currently walking. But one question stands above all the others. Do you ever think about them the way they think about you? At first, they brushed the thought aside. They told themselves it didn't matter. They convinced themselves they were simply being nostalgic. Yet the question kept returning. It appeared during quiet evenings, during moments of reflection, and even during times when they were focused on completely different things. What surprises them most is not the question itself. It is how much the answer matters to them. The more they think about whether you still remember them, the more they realize how often they remember you. Memories they thought had faded still feel alive. Certain moments still hold meaning. Certain emotions still carry weight. And now they are beginning to understand something important. The reason they keep wondering if you think about them is because thoughts of you continue occupying a special place within their own heart. And that realization is becoming harder for them to ignore with each passing day. And listen to this. The more your soulmate tries to answer that question, the more they find themselves looking for signs of you in places they never expected. What began as simple curiosity has slowly become something much deeper. At first, they only wondered about you occasionally. A random thought would appear, and then they would move on with their day. But lately, it has become much harder to simply move on. Something keeps drawing their attention back to the connection, back to the memories, and back to the possibility that you may still be thinking about them too. Your heart needs this right now, because meaningful connections have a way of resurfacing when there is still something important left to understand. Recently, they noticed something strange. Certain memories seem to appear without warning. A familiar place reminds them of a conversation. A song brings back an emotion they thought had faded. Even small moments throughout the day somehow lead their thoughts back to you. What surprises them is how natural it feels. They are not forcing these memories. They are not intentionally searching for them. Yet somehow your presence continues finding its way into their mind. And listen to this. Every time this happens, the same question returns. Do you ever experience this too? Do certain memories unexpectedly bring them back into your thoughts? Do moments from the past still appear when you least expect them? These questions have become more important than they would like to admit, because deep down, they are not simply wondering about your thoughts. They are wondering about the significance of the connection itself. The more they reflect, the more they realize how many reminders of you still exist within their world. Some reminders are obvious, others are subtle. A phrase someone says, a place they pass by, a feeling they cannot explain. Each reminder seems small on its own, yet together they create a pattern that is becoming impossible to ignore. And your heart needs this right now, because sometimes the heart notices patterns long before the mind is willing to acknowledge them. There have been moments recently when they found themselves imagining what your life looks like now. They wonder how you spend your days. They wonder what has changed since the last chapter of your journey together. They wonder whether certain memories still make you smile. They wonder whether certain experiences still carry meaning for you. These thoughts arrive quietly, but they stay longer than expected. And listen to this. What started as curiosity is slowly turning into reflection. Reflection is turning into awareness, and awareness is revealing something important. The more they wonder about whether you remember them, the more they realize how often they remember you. The more they search for signs that you still care, the more they discover evidence of how much they still care themselves. This realization has not arrived all at once. It has appeared gradually, one memory at a time, one thought at a time, one question at a time. Yet every piece seems to point toward the same truth. Despite everything that has happened, despite the distance, despite the passage of time, the connection still occupies space within their heart. Your heart needs this right now because some bonds leave impressions that are not easily erased. Your soulmate is beginning to recognize that. They are beginning to understand that their thoughts about you are not random. Their curiosity is not random. Their desire to know whether you still think about them is not random. It comes from a place much deeper than they originally realized. And listen to this. There are times when they catch themselves hoping for a sign. Not necessarily a dramatic sign. Just something small. Something that would reassure them that the connection still matters to you too. They may never say this out loud, but the hope exists. It appears during quiet moments when their guard is down. It appears when memories feel especially vivid. It appears when they realize how much they would like to know that they are not the only one carrying these thoughts. As these reflections continue, your soulmate is moving toward a realization they can no longer avoid. The question they keep asking about you is beginning to reveal something about themselves. Every memory, every reminder, every moment of curiosity is leading them toward the same understanding. They think about you far more often than they admitted, and the deeper they look into their own heart, the more difficult it becomes to deny just how meaningful this connection still feels to them today. And listen to this. There comes a moment when a person can no longer dismiss what their own heart keeps showing them. Your soulmate is approaching that moment now. For a while they convinced themselves that their thoughts about you were temporary. They told themselves the memories would eventually fade. They believed the curiosity would disappear once enough time passed. But something unexpected has happened. Instead of fading, the thoughts have become more noticeable. Instead of disappearing, the feelings behind those thoughts have become clearer. And your heart needs this right now, because sometimes what continues returning to our minds is not asking to be forgotten. It is asking to be understood. Recently, your soulmate began paying attention to how often you cross their mind throughout the day. At first, they did not think much of it. But once they started noticing it, they could not ignore it. A memory would appear while they were busy with something completely unrelated. A random thought about you would surface during a quiet evening. A question about how you are doing would suddenly enter their mind without warning. What surprised them was not the thoughts themselves. It was how frequently they appeared. And listen to this. The more they observed these moments, the more they realized something important. You occupy more space in their heart than they admitted to themselves. For a long time, they believed they had achieved emotional distance. They believed they had moved beyond wondering about the connection. Yet now they are beginning to understand that emotional distance and emotional silence are not always the same thing. Sometimes feelings become quiet without actually disappearing. This realization has caught them completely off guard. Because if they are being honest with themselves, they expected the connection to feel less significant by now. They expected time to weaken the emotional impact. They expected life to gradually pull their attention in different directions. Yet despite everything that has changed, certain thoughts continue returning. Certain memories continue holding meaning. Certain emotions continue feeling surprisingly alive. Your heart needs this right now, because the heart often reveals the truth through repetition. What continues returning usually carries a message. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that message. Every time they wonder whether you think about them, they are also uncovering something about themselves. They are realizing how often they think about you, and listen to this. This awareness has led them to ask themselves some difficult questions. Why do these memories still matter? Why do they still wonder about your feelings? Why does the idea of you thinking about them bring such a strong emotional response? The deeper they explore these questions, the harder it becomes to find simple answers. Because the truth is much deeper than simple curiosity. They are beginning to recognize that this connection left a lasting impression on them. Not because of one particular moment, not because of one specific memory, because of the overall impact it had on their life. Certain people enter our lives and leave footprints that remain long after circumstances change. Your soulmate is starting to realize that you may be one of those people for them. Recently, they found themselves replaying moments they had not thought about in a long time. What surprised them was how easily those memories returned. The emotions connected to them still felt familiar. The details still felt meaningful. And that realization forced them to confront something they had been avoiding. The connection never became as unimportant as they told themselves it had. And listen to this. There is a difference between moving forward and forgetting. Your soulmate is beginning to understand that difference now. They have grown. They have changed. Life has continued moving. Yet despite all of that, thoughts of you continue finding a way back into their heart. Not constantly, not overwhelmingly, but consistently enough that they can no longer pretend it means nothing. Your heart needs this right now, because clarity often arrives when we stop running from what we feel. Your soulmate is slowly reaching that clarity. They are beginning to see that the reason they keep asking whether you think about them is because they are searching for reassurance that the connection mattered on both sides. They want to believe the memories are shared. They want to believe the significance was mutual. They want to believe they are not alone in carrying these reflections. And listen to this. As this realization grows stronger, something inside them is changing. The questions are becoming more honest. The reflections are becoming deeper. The emotional distance they once relied upon is becoming harder to maintain. And with every passing day, they are moving closer to a truth they may no longer be able to deny. The connection still matters. The memories still matter. And perhaps most importantly, you still matter far more than they ever allowed themselves to admit. And listen to this. After realizing how often you occupy their thoughts, your soulmate has entered a new phase of reflection. The focus is no longer entirely on their own feelings. Now their attention keeps shifting toward you. They find themselves wondering what is happening on your side of the connection. They wonder whether your thoughts ever travel back to them unexpectedly. They wonder whether certain memories still live within your heart, the same way they live within theirs. And your heart needs this right now, because when someone truly values a connection, they eventually stop asking what they feel and start wondering what the other person feels too. Recently, your soulmate caught themselves imagining situations they never expected to think about. They wondered if a certain song ever reminds you of them. They wondered if you ever pass by a familiar place and suddenly remember a moment you shared together. They wondered if there are times when their name crosses your mind for no obvious reason. These questions appear quietly, often when they are alone with their thoughts. Yet once they appear, they are difficult to ignore. And listen to this. What makes these questions so powerful is that they are rooted in hope. Not necessarily the kind of hope they openly acknowledge, but a deeper kind of hope that exists beneath the surface. A hope that the connection mattered to you as much as it mattered to them. A hope that the memories they carry are not theirs alone. A hope that somewhere in some quiet moment you have wondered about them too. The more they think about this possibility, the more emotional the question becomes. Because if you still think about them, it means something important. It means the connection left an impact on both hearts. It means the story was not one-sided. It means the feelings they have been trying to understand may have a deeper significance than they originally believed. Your heart needs this right now, because sometimes the questions we ask others are actually reflections of what we feel ourselves. Your soulmate is beginning to recognize that. Every time they wonder whether you miss them, they are uncovering how much they miss certain aspects of the connection. Every time they wonder whether you remember them, they are reminded of how often they remember you. And listen to this. There have been moments recently when they imagined receiving an answer to the question that has been living inside their heart. Imagine for a moment if they knew with certainty that you still thought about them. Imagine if they knew that certain memories still mattered to you. Imagine if they knew that the connection still occupied space within your heart. The emotional response they feel when considering that possibility tells them everything they need to know, because the truth is, the idea brings them comfort. It brings them relief. It creates a feeling they have not fully understood until now. A feeling that perhaps the connection was never as distant as it seemed. A feeling that perhaps some bonds continue existing beneath the surface, even when life moves in different directions. The interesting thing is that they are no longer simply curious. Curiosity fades quickly. What they are experiencing has remained consistent. Day after day, reflection after reflection, the same questions continue returning. And that consistency is beginning to reveal something important. Their heart is trying to understand something their mind has been reluctant to acknowledge. Your heart needs this right now, because emotional truth often reveals itself through persistence. The things that matter most tend to return again and again until we finally pay attention. Your soulmate is finally paying attention. They are beginning to understand why thoughts of you continue appearing. They are beginning to understand why the answer to this question feels so important. And listen to this. The more they imagine your perspective, the more they realize how deeply they care about what you feel. This realization has changed everything. It has transformed a simple question into a meaningful reflection. It has transformed curiosity into emotional awareness. It has transformed uncertainty into understanding. Now they find themselves standing at the edge of an important truth. They can feel it approaching. They can sense it becoming clearer with every passing day. The question that once seemed simple is leading them somewhere much deeper. Because the more they wonder whether you still think about them, the more they discover how much they still think about you. And that discovery is preparing them for a realization that may finally explain why this connection continues holding such a powerful place within their heart. And listen to this. After all the wondering, all the memories, all the questions that refuse to leave their mind, your soulmate is finally arriving at a truth they can no longer ignore. For a long time, they believed they were simply curious about you. They told themselves they were only reflecting on the past. They convinced themselves that their thoughts about you were occasional and temporary. But now, after honestly examining what has been happening inside their heart, they are beginning to understand something much deeper. This was never just curiosity. And your heart needs this right now, because sometimes the questions we ask reveal feelings we have not fully admitted to ourselves. Recently, your soulmate realized that they spend far more time wondering about you than they ever intended to. Not because they are forcing those thoughts, not because they are trying to hold on to the past. The thoughts simply arrive on their own. They appear during quiet moments. They appear when life slows down. They appear when something reminds them of a memory, a feeling, or a lesson connected to you. What once seemed like random moments now feel like part of a larger pattern. And listen to this. The pattern is becoming impossible for them to ignore. Every time they ask themselves whether you still think about them, they are actually revealing how often they think about you. Every time they wonder whether the connection still matters to you, they are uncovering how much it still matters to them. The answer they have been searching for outside themselves has quietly been revealing itself within them all along. This realization has been emotional because it forces them to be honest. Honest about the memories they still carry. Honest about the impact you had on their life. Honest about the fact that certain feelings never completely disappeared. They may have become quieter. They may have moved into the background for a while. But they never truly left. Your heart needs this right now because honesty has a way of changing everything. Once a person sees the truth clearly, it becomes impossible to pretend they do not see it. Your soulmate is reaching that point now. The emotional walls they built around this connection are becoming harder to maintain. The explanations they once used no longer feel convincing. The distance they believed existed between their heart and these feelings is beginning to disappear. And listen to this. What surprises them most is not the realization itself. It is the peace that comes with it. For so long they questioned why thoughts of you continued returning. For so long they wondered why certain memories remained so vivid. Now they understand. The connection mattered. The experiences mattered. The lessons mattered. And because they mattered, the memories remained. They are also beginning to understand something else. The reason they care so much about whether you still think about them is because deep down they want confirmation that the connection was meaningful for both of you. They want to know that the impact was shared. They want to know that the memories they carry are not theirs alone. They want to believe that somewhere, somehow, you occasionally pause and think about them too. As this understanding grows stronger, a new level of clarity is emerging. They are no longer trying to deny their feelings. They are no longer trying to explain them away. Instead, they are allowing themselves to acknowledge the truth. The truth is that you still occupy a meaningful place within their heart. The truth is that thoughts of you continue appearing because the connection left a lasting impression. The truth is that some bonds remain significant regardless of how much time passes. Your heart needs this right now because some connections are not measured by constant communication or physical presence. They are measured by impact. They are measured by what remains long after circumstances change. Your soulmate is finally recognizing that truth. They are recognizing that despite everything life has brought them, despite every distraction and every new chapter, thoughts of you never completely disappeared. And listen to this. This realization is changing the way they see everything. The question that started this journey now has an answer. The reason they secretly wonder whether you think about them as much as they think about you is because they think about you far more than they ever admitted. The curiosity was never just curiosity. The wondering was never just wondering. Beneath it all was genuine emotion, genuine care, and a connection that continues holding meaning in their life. Now, As they stand in this new awareness, they are no longer running from the truth. They are accepting it. They are accepting the significance of the connection. They are accepting the impact you had on their journey. And most importantly, they are accepting that some people leave a mark on the heart that time simply cannot erase. That understanding has brought them closer to themselves, closer to the truth, and closer to recognizing just how important this connection has always been.